Hey, good morning. I'm just going to do one of the problems from the test that we didn't do great at. Um, Number 8. A data set is normally distributed with a mean of 25 and a standard deviation of 1.5. About what percent of the data is greater than 26? So here's what I did. I first showed what a normal distribution would look like. Those red lines indicate the number of standard deviations away. We do have to use the empirical rule here. Um, that's how I did it. Um, but that's how we're going to find what percentage is greater than 26. Our standard deviation 1.5. So you'll see 26 doesn't exactly line up well with any of our standard deviations, but we're going to talk our way through what we do for that. The empirical rule does tell us that 68% of our data falls within one standard deviation. 95% of our data falls between two standard deviations. And within three standard deviations, we have 99.7% of our data. We only need 68% here because 26 is going to fall in that one standard deviation range. First, 68% is not incredibly helpful, and that we do need to deal with only the positive part of the standard deviation. So we would divide 68 by 2. That means 34% of the data falls with one standard deviation below our mean, and 34% falls one standard deviation above our mean. Now that still doesn't have us at exactly 26. That has us at 26.5. Um, what the question is actually asking, what percent of the data is greater than 26? So I went ahead and drew a blue line right there. By the way, my artwork not great. Sorry about that. Um, Microsoft Paint, baby. Fun times. Um, it looks like a child drew it, but that's going to be okay. And then notice I do have a blue line there showing where 26 would be along our mean. Um, that is not another standard deviation line. The red lines are still where the standard deviation is. Um, so what the question is asking you, basically what this little purple area is, what percent of the data is greater than 26? 26 is 1 higher than 25. 25 is the mean. 1 is 2/3 of 1.5. So we need to determine how much of that 34% is highlighted. I sort of work in reverse. It's easier for me that way. So I'm actually looking at the 2/3 uh, 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 of the way towards the standard deviation. 2/3 of 34%, 22.6. So 22.6% of our data falls between the mean and that blue line. But that's not all the information that we need. We now have to add that to the 50% of the data that falls below the mean. All right, so we add that the 50% of the data with that 22.6% that we got by um, uh, uh, finding 2/3 of 34. And that's going to tell us how much data goes up to 26. So I have 72.6% of the data falling below 26. But again, that's not what the question asked us to do. The question did ask us to look at what percent of data is greater than 26. So it's going to be 100% minus the 72.6% that we just found. That leaves us with 27.4%. Now that specific answer was not an option on the test, but the closest option on the test was 25. It was asking you to round. Um, and you could have approximated this without finding exact percentages like we did here. But roughly 25% of the data falls above 26.